Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today we'll be doing spring pruning, starting with this Douglas Fir forest. Douglas firs only grow on the west coast of Canada, which is really far away, and you can't get them here in Ontario. Luckily, I have my friend Lessig who lives in Alberta, and he collected 4 Douglas firs for me, brought them down to me in October of 2018. He took them on an airplane and they were folded up in a suitcase. I'll show you a little clip of that.
Nigel, first of all, I hope that these trees survive the whole collection process.
Yeah.
Because I got them about a week and a half ago.
Here's the Douglas firs.
Yeah.
Fit in a suitcase.
Fit in a suitcase. Yeah. Yeah. And amazing what 2 rolls of tape, right? And yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Not
That's
the country.
that's the little
there's
village.
a cone on it.
Yeah. There you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't think that it's, anyhow.
Beautiful
Yeah,
tree.
Yeah, you'll be. But
Yeah,
see,
got
this
wow,
one,
the bark and everything on
yeah,
that.
exactly. Right, so you can do something with it. I don't know.
So that knob isn't sticking there, so I think I'll reduce that down a bit. I'll use the saw to reduce this down. I want to cut as little root off these trees as possible. And this one was already cut, so I'm keeping all my fine feeder roots. I'll get the next tallest tree unwrapped now. I think we're getting close to watering the planting. The planting is all finished. Lessig did the best job he could collecting the trees. I did the best job I could planting them. So we'll just have to see how they grow in the future. Of the 4 trees, only one of them died. It was the one at the back here, which is the closest to a formal upright style. So I was kind of disappointed to lose that one, but it just slowly got weaker and weaker and never gained strength. And it eventually just died. So I've got 3 good Douglas firs to work with now. Here's a look at the size of the trees. So I've got a fairly compact tree here with a very thick, kind of gnarly trunk on it. Really nice. And then I've got some slimmer ones. It's not so slim, the second one. It's got a fairly thick base on it. But it's tall. Very tall. And my plans were to create a big lonely Doug, which is a big tall Douglas fir that survived logging out in British Columbia. And I'll show you some photos of that. Lessig transported these trees in a suitcase on an airplane and flew in from out west to Ontario here. So these trees were folded in half. That's why they kind of have a bit of a bend to the trunk down here. So if I'm going to create a big lonely Doug out of one of these trees, I'll need to straighten it up. So I might do that today. Put a support alongside it and straighten the tree up. The shortest tree here is looking really good. I'll show you a picture of kind of a tree that resembles this style. I want this tree to be similar to that kind of style, so it just needs to be brought in more compact and maybe, you know, getting a little more of a conical crown on it. But other than that, I don't want to change the looks of it too much. It's got a couple of lower branches here that are kind of hugging the ground, and normally I think most people would prune those off, but I really like them. I think that's a cool feature on the tree to have these low branches here. There's a lot of deadwood on the tree, but you know, you can see it budding back on old wood here, which is amazing. This one doesn't look so healthy here, but up top there's some. So what I've got to do with this tree is, on these Douglas firs, all the vigor goes to the top of the tree, and you can see that. You can see the foliage density at the top. So I've got to prune it back at the top, prune and pinch it back, and let the bottom grow. So by reducing the foliage up here, more energy will go into these lower branches, and you'll get a kind of a fuller tree. You won't get all the bottom branches dying off. So that's the plan with that, just to make it more compact and a little more conical. I'm going to get the forest on my spinning tree bonsai turntable, and I'll show you the back of the planting. Here's the back of the planting, and you can see I placed a lot of stones around the trees to hold them in the pot until the roots got established. Because they're fairly tall trees and the wind would whip them around, I needed to hold them securely in the pot. These stones make the pot weigh quite a bit, so I'll be glad to finally remove some of the stones. All right, here I go. I'll remove this stone first, like that. And I can see all the mycorrhiza underneath here and the roots from the Douglas firs. I'll remove this stone also, like that. Take that one away. And I think I'll leave the big one in here for now. I kind of like it. It really adds to the landscape, I think. You can see that I planted the trees quite deeply in the pot. I piled the soil up around the trunks. So I can rake that away today, kind of exposing the root base on the trees and seeing what, you know, the surface roots look like. All right, here I go with the root rake, and I'll just rake out the soil here, trying to find, you know, the root base of this main tree. Today I'm in for a hot day. It's going to be up to 32 degrees Celsius, which in May is quite warm. There's the root base, I can see it down there. So this tree had a fairly good root base on it. It wasn't perfect, but it had a pretty good root base. I was really happy. Oh, I was just happy getting the trees. Yeah, you can't get Douglas fir trees in Ontario here. I've never seen them for sale. I don't think I've ever seen one as a bonsai in Ontario. Okay, and I'll give the base of the tree a water. Just so I can see the roots a little more clearly. Yeah, it's a nice looking root base on this tree. It looks really rugged looking. A lot of character in the bark on this tree. So I've got a little too much soil on this side of the pot. I might have to get rid of this moss. Just too bad, but got a lot of weeds in it too. It'll all grow back. So I was just looking at reference pictures of the Douglas firs before I started this work today, which I always try and do, so you get a clear idea in your mind of what makes a Douglas fir look like a Douglas fir, what the characteristics are of the tree in nature, and I try and duplicate that on my bonsai. I think once all this dries, you'll see the root base quite clearly. It won't be quite as dark. I will leave the dead tree in there for now, and maybe even when I go to repot this, probably I won't repot these trees for probably another year or two. This is a big pot. There's no urgency to repot them health-wise, and I want the roots to get, you know, nice and established. In this bonsai soil, they should grow a really nice, fine, fibrous root system. And yeah, there's no sense rushing the repotting until the trees are super healthy, which they're getting to be really healthy now. So I'm just pruning away some of the surface roots that are sticking up. I've got the surface of the soil all cleaned up now, so it's down to a good level for the trees. You can see the root base there. I've left the rock in there with the bare. So the next step is to do some pruning work on the trees. And I'll start with this main tree here, kind of reducing the foliage back a bit to make it more compact. Here's the apex of the tree. So I've got a whorl of branches started to form the new leader. I think it was pruned off here by Lessig when the tree was collected. So this is the new apex, and I can shorten it a little bit. If you look at this branch, I've got a branch here, one here, one here. So there's 3 coming from one spot here. So I'm going to take this one off that's duplicated by one below. So like that. And then I'll just pinch the tips back, and that'll help keep the tree more compact. So I'll just grab the shoot, pinch the tip out, pinch the tip out, pinch the tip out. The other branch here at the apex is a very similar thing. It has 2 branches down lower here, 2 branches down lower, and then 2 up top. So I'm going to reduce, I'm going to take it right down to those 2 branches, taking the top off that shoot. This one here, I've got it subdividing down lower. I've got 3 branches up top and 3 branches on the other branch. So I want to reduce 3 branches always to 2 if possible. So I'll take this one off, the inside one, and I'll take the outside one off here. And I'm looking for nice flowing lines. I don't want the forks in the branches to be, too splayed out. I want them tightly, more of a tight angle. And then I'll just pinch the tips off of these ones. Just shortening them like that. So that takes care of the apex branches, and now I'm down to my second tier of branches. So I've got a whorl here. I've got 3 branches coming from one spot on the trunk. These whorls on spruce trees and this Douglas fir, it happens like that in nature. So unless you get a really thick ball forming here, there's not much point reducing the whorl down to like 1 or 2 branches. It may become a problem in the future, I don't know, but I'll keep my eyes on it. So I've got a really strong branch up here. You can see it here. It comes out from the trunk, divides into 2. I've got a new shoot there, 2 again, 2 again, 1, and then the tip. So I'm going to take the tip off for sure. So I'll take it right back to here, taking the tip off the branch, and I may reduce it further. It's starting to get quite splayed out, or quite spread out is the word I'm looking for, from the trunk. So I want to keep my growth fairly compact. I like the branch, but it's just getting too wide. So there's a branch coming off the bottom of the branch, which is nice. I could reduce the branch right back to that, and I think I will. So I'm going to take it off. I'm going to leave a little room for dieback here, right to here. Off it comes. I won't pinch anything in this area because I want it to develop some vigor, this sort of weak lower branch. Now I'm coming over to the one off to this side of the apex. I've got a shoot coming straight up here that I could reduce the branch back to, and I think I will. I'm going to come back to here, taking the tip off that branch. I'm going to remove the tip off this one, just pinch it off, not remove it. Pinch back some of these other ones just to kind of balance the vigor a bit. And then off this branch, I have 3 branches coming from one spot. So I'm going to take off this side one here. And that gives this other branch a little more light. And that's it for that top whorl. So I'm going down the tree now. There's a weaker branch here. It has 3 branches coming off from one spot. I'm going to take one of them off and it'll be this one, reducing it to 2 shoots. And I'm not going to pinch it because this shoot isn't that strong. Yeah, there's one out the back here. I think it is part of this top whorl here. There's a shoot coming out the bottom, so I'll take the tip off the branch here, replacing it with the one underneath. And it is quite vigorous. I'll just pinch the tip off, do a little pinching on it. There's a branch coming off of it here, kind of growing underneath the other branch. I'm going to remove that. Like that. So that's sorted out. There's a strong branch at the back here that I need to bring it back more compact. So I'm going to take it off here, taking the entire tip off the branch like that. Then just a little bit of pinching on these. There's a branch here. Again, I can take the tip off of it, and I will. I'll take it off to here. Like that. And just a little bit of pinching on these remaining branches. Just kind of removing the tip of them. And that's good for that branch. The remaining branches are fairly weak. I guess this one out front is the strongest one. It's not real strong. I'm just going to pinch this part of it back, trying to get some strength into the upper shoot there, and then maybe next year I can take the lower part of the branch off, this part here, down here, and keep the upper part, shortening the branch back. There's a branch out back here that's fairly strong. I'll just pinch the tip of it. This branch here I could reduce back a bit. Take the tip off that one. It's fairly strong. But I think that's going to be it on that tree. All these lower branches can gain vigor. I've reduced the upper part of the tree, kind of suppressing the vigor there a bit. Do a little more pinching here. Here's a look at the Douglas fir from the front now, and you can see it's reduced in size a little bit. It's not quite so spreading. And I'm very happy with the very first work done to the tree. At this point, you can't do a whole lot. You can reduce the vigor in the top. And as the tree gets older, you'll find you'll get more back budding. The tree will start gaining even more vigor. As you get more needles on the tree, it'll really improves the vigor of the tree. More needle density. And yeah, usually the trees should just gain strength as they get older. The other 2 trees in the planting, I was waiting to see if they would, upright themselves, and they may over time. I'm sure they would. But I may have to stake them upright, try and straighten those trunks out today. So I'll have to find something I can attach to the side of the trunk, like a pole or a piece of piping or something, or if I had bamboo, I could use that. Something stiff that I can put beside the trunk and straighten the trees up. I think before I straighten the trees out, I'm going to try and reduce them in height. These trees are really tall. I don't think I'd have any way of transporting them other than using the truck. So I like to keep my trees down in height so I can fit them in the back of the car, at least in the hatchback. So I'm going to see if I can find a suitable place along the trunks where I can cut them back. I have a lot of new buds coming off the trunk in this area. So I'm thinking that this could be my apex around here, and I could remove this entire top off the tree. Because I do want to get it down in height. It's very tall, this tree. It's a beautiful apex. It's just too large. So I've got to develop a new one. So I think this is a suitable height. If I reduce it any lower, I'm not getting much taper in the trunk. I think it would look too pole-like maybe. For now anyway, I'll take it off here. So I'm going to come in and just do a cut. I'll leave a little room for dieback. Taking the entire top off, here I go. Like that. So that's a big cut. I'm going to see if I can count the growth rings on it too. I'm going to look at the rings now. So I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rings. So this tree is about 7 years old. I'm going to try and reduce the height of the third tree here now. I've got to pick a suitable place. It's got a good strong branch here, one down below. New shoots coming off the trunk there. There's no really good place to reduce it back. I think I'll have to keep this strong branch up top here and take it back to here. So here I go. Like that, taking that whole top off. Now, my next step, I'll need to reduce the apexes back. You know, reducing these long branches back, maybe just keeping the ones that are closer to the trunk to try and get that, you know, a tighter tree so that it's not big loose branches on it. So it's all kind of tighter and more miniature. So I'm going to reduce the size of the apex on this tree first. I've got some thick branches up here, and I've got some new shoots coming out on the trunk here, which look really healthy. So I can either take these long branches right off and develop new branches, or just prune them back and try and get back budding and slowly kind of reduce them. It's a tough choice. You don't want to kill the tree because you're removing all the foliage from it. And there's a few dead branches up on the tree here too. I think I'm going to have to take them right off. They're just too thick compared to the trunk. So I'll take them right off at the base. So there's one gone. Just clean that up a bit here. Like that. There's a dead branch here I'll reduce back. So this one here is dead. So I'll just take it off shorter. Like that. There's another dead one here I can take off short. This one's alive. Just take the tip off of it. It's not very thick at the base, so that one's okay. This one's all right. I'm going to let that one grow. There's a shoot here. There's a few old needles here, so maybe something will develop in this area and then I can reduce it back later. I'll have to be patient with that one. This one I'm going to take right off. It's got a lot of good foliage out here, but it's very thick. So I've got, you know, a lot of smaller shoots in that same area. So I can take it right back. So that's gone. Like that. There's some more deadwood here that's too long. I'll take that back. Another one here. Another one here. One here. Take that one off a little shorter. Another dead one here I can take back. And the rest I think can just be left to grow. These lower branches. I don't know if I could maybe reduce this one back a little bit, take the tip off like that. I was looking at the first tree I pruned here, and this branch is quite vigorous here, and it's kind of shading out the ones below. I think I've got to reduce this one back. It has a lot of foliage on it. So I will. I'll pick a point. I think somewhere here. I'll leave this little shoot here, take it off right here, like that. Maybe just do a little pinching on it. Now I'm going to come down here and just see how flexible these trunks are, if I can straighten them. Maybe I should have done it right away. Yeah, they're not very flexible. Yeah, I don't know. There's a bit of disease or something on this tree, or some kind of insect attack. I'll show you what it looks like. I'll rotate it around. There's a look at it there, and you can see there's all these scars all on this side of the tree. I don't know if it was a result of collection, if you know, this branches were somehow torn off here, or branches died off and it's scar tissue. I'm not really sure. I haven't noticed any health problems with the tree because of it, so it may be just some kind of scar tissue that's formed. There's some deadwood on this third tree that's too long. I'll take it back. Here's an overall look at the forest now, the Douglas Fir forest. It has a long way to go, but I made some progress today. I don't think I can straighten those trees out. I think they're just... I should have done it right away, I guess. I thought they might straighten out, like some trees like larch and that tend to straighten out very quickly after they've been bent. And they will continue to straighten out in the future, I'm sure. It may be, you know, all that scarring on the one tree, it might be because it was bent and it damaged tissue along at the bend point, and then, you know, it kind of died up the trunk at that point, and then it's scarred over. So it could be, because it's all on one side of the tree, which leads me to that conclusion. So I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to try and straighten the trunks out anymore. I'll let nature do its thing. And I think you'll see over the upcoming years that they'll continually get straighter. I find that in most trees, they tend to straighten out. Spruces, larches, everything. So we'll leave it. I think that's enough work on the tree for today. I think it's made a few steps forward. Kind of exciting to see it developing and to actually be able to work on the tree. I'm a long way off from creating my big lonely Douglas fir tree, but we've taken some steps in the right direction. I'm going to finish up the Douglas firs today by giving them some water and fertilizer, giving them a good thorough watering, and put them back on the bench. In goes my fertilizer. Give it a stir up. And I can water. It's time to leave Canada with these Canadian trees and go to Africa. Connor, the president of our KW Bonsai Society, came across this giant jade tree that was growing in a greenhouse, and the owner had to get rid of it. So Connor bought it, and then he planted a forest with it, and he had a lot of leftover cuttings that he was selling, and the money from the sales went back to the KW Bonsai Society. So he brought all the cuttings to a parking lot and gave them out to members for a $10 donation. So I got one cutting off the giant jade, and I'll show you what it looks like.
Who's that? What is this? That's Christmas time. You want me to take this apple off? No, I didn't know it.
Here's the cutting that I picked, and I picked this one because it had really cool bark on it, kind of peeling off. It's an indication that it's a really old jade plant. Connor pruned this cutting off the main tree probably 3 months ago. so it's well calloused over at the cut point. So this can be planted directly into bonsai soil, given a good thorough watering, put outside and left to grow. Jades are a succulent. That means they store a lot of water in the trunk, and you can feel the weight of it. It's quite heavy. So I'll have to find a pot that's fairly deep and plant the cutting deeply in the pot so it doesn't tip over, especially once the foliage starts coming out and it starts getting really heavy up top. So I'll have to look for kind of a deep, not too big, not too small pot. Here's a look at the pot I've picked out. So it's a clay pot. It's not too deep, not too shallow, not too big, not too small. I think it'll be perfect for this jade. At least, you know, to get the roots going and get it growing and developing. And then I can always put it in a different pot later on. I'll put a drainage screen in the bottom of the pot and fill it probably about halfway with bonsai soil. All right, here I go. Have to be careful not to breathe that dust in. The soil I'm using is bonsai soil. It's the stuff I mixed up for my ficus. So it's half perlite, half safety zorb or fuller's earth, and then I mixed in chunks of fir bark, maybe 10-20% of that. So it's a nice loose porous mix. So it's hard to overwater trees when they're in this kind of a mix. It can still be done with succulents, but a typical tree you can't really overwater them when they're in this loose kind of porous soil. So that's full enough. I can put the tree in now. All right, here I go. I'm going to put the tree right in the center of the pot. I'm just wondering, is that too high, too low? I'll go a little higher. To there. All right, let's get it filled up now. And I'll top it up so the soil level is just below the lip of the pot. Here's a look at my new jade in its pot. I think it looks quite good. I am going to give it a thorough watering because the cutting, as I said, it's calloused over completely. And I think, you know, a bit of moisture in that soil will stimulate the roots to grow, and it should take off. So I'll leave this outside on the bench in full sun, and if it rains, I'll bring it in because it's okay to water it thoroughly, but you don't want it out for a whole day of rain. It just keeps all that moisture around the roots and they can start rotting. It'll rot up the trunk. So I do water it thoroughly when I do water it, but I make sure when I do water it, it's a nice sunny day with no rain. And then I let it dry out completely and then completely water it again, thoroughly water it again. And I always keep it out of the rain. Quite a while ago, Connor also mentioned that he bought a valve for his water tank and it wasn't the right thread. So he sent the specs to me and I measured up the thread I had on mine and it looked like the right thing. So I said, yeah, I'll buy it off you. So he brought that down the other day also. So I've installed it and I'll show you how it works. Now, whenever I need rainwater, I just bring my watering can here, open up the valve, and there's 2 liters of water in here, 2 liters of rainwater. I am going to add a very small amount of fertilizer to my rainwater, that much to 2 liters. Stir it in there. And then I can water the jade. So this amount of fertilizer, it's so weak that it would never burn any new roots forming or anything. That's why I always fertilize often and very weakly. Here I go with the water, and you should see the water drain right through the soil. It shouldn't pool up or anything. So here I go. I'll place some rocks on the surface of the soil just for extra security so there's no danger of the jade tipping over. I've got 3 rocks here. These 2 are from the Douglas Fir planting and a third one that they all kind of match each other, so I'll use those. And once the jade starts growing really nicely, I can remove the rocks. It'll have enough root to hold it up by itself. That's all the bonsai work I'll be doing in this video. I'm going to put the jade back on the bench in full sun, and I'll get out the project I'll be working on for the next video. Coming up on the next video is my bog forest here, and it's made up of black spruce in the background and North American larches in the foreground, and it features some dead spruce trees kind of in the middle. So the planting, it's come out in spring. The larches have leafed out or needled out, and the spruce is getting new shoots on it, and they're starting to get a little long, and everything needs a bit of pinching and maybe a little bit of pruning. So I'm really happy with the look of the forest. I think it still looks nice and miniature. Yeah, I can't wait to see it in fall when those larches in the front turn that golden yellow color and I still have the green spruce in the background. So that's coming up on the next video. Here's a look at the bird's nest spruce now. The deadwood is looking really nice. The canopy's looking good. The branches are drooping. Looks really cool. Yeah, a nice little tree. And very old. I've had this for over 25 years. I'll end the video here in the glorious sunshine on a very hot day. At the beginning of this video, I was working on a very Canadian landscape with the Douglas firs. Then we went to Africa with the jade tree, and now we're back to Canada. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.